Thank you so much for joining us at the Allon Exchange with Jay and Brittany Hagy, both financial advisors and the founders of Allon Planning Partners. I'm your host, Spike Spangle. On today's program, we've gone through retirement research. We are digging through the numbers and sifting through the stories to find out how you can be and stay retired. And I know there's a lot of misinformation out there.
Yeah.
Brittany, you ready for us to jump into some of this retirement research we've seen?
We've got a lot going on.
A lot going on. Let's start out immediately with Social Security. It's one of the biggest things on people's minds today when it comes to retirement. And my fear today is that what I've read in research is that more Americans are taking it earlier than ever, meaning 62, 63. That means you're locking in that lower amount. Are you seeing that here in Tennessee as well?
Well, almost half of all older Americans are fearful that it won't be around. That's something we have to address right off the bat, because we're getting that question all the time.
That's why they're taking it early.
Yeah, is it going to be around? That's why I just want to file now. I turned 62, I can get it. I want to get it. So we have to address that and acknowledge that the system probably is going to change. We're not exactly sure how, that's to be determined, but it's going to have to change. So ensuring that when we're looking at income in retirement, that we're not putting all our eggs in one basket, so to speak, when it comes to Social Security, but truly putting together a plan that maximizes your Social Security
And we really
benefit.
want to optimize the time that folks take Social Security. So it's not just like, hey, we're going to turn this on as soon as it's available to us. That could be a great strategy for you, but it could absolutely hurt you incredibly. Like we had a lady come in a few weeks ago, and she had just turned 62, and she was excited. She was going to add $1,500 a month to her income, and we had to explain to her, you can't file for Social Security yet. She said, why not? I'm 62. We told her, you're still working a job making $75,000 a year. It's going to get eat up, every bit of that in penalty.
Technically, you could.
You could. It's going to go all back.
You'd send it all back
to the government, right? And so we have to make sure that you're optimizing when you file for Social Security based on your assets and where they're at, based on if you're working or not, based on what your full retirement age is and that picture looks like. But folks kind of do have a good observation here that they should be making. Is Social Security going to look like it did, 10 years ago, 5 years ago even?
I mean, if you're 5 years, 2 years, 3 years away from retirement, should you be worried about if Social Security will be 100% from what you see on the...
You should be creating other income streams.
Right.
And not depending on Social Security to carry you
through. For
your
sole retirement income.
Okay, so now when you're talking about other kinds of income streams, you're talking about working other jobs, driving for Uber Eats.
Hey, you know what?
Be creative. That's okay.
Yeah, that's the beauty of our job, is that it really is different and it's varied. It's not the same for everyone. And so that's part of the fun of it, is saying, okay, we want to learn about each family we sit with. What do you do? How do you create your income? What do you enjoy? What are you skilled at? Whether it's, maybe doing something part-time during retirement, or maybe it's utilizing the assets that you've spent your whole life saving for to create distributions from them. And a lot of times it's a mixture or a blend of all of that.
Right.
It's not just like one solution or one answer, but it's a real blend, working different components together to produce the income.
Yeah, and my stance is Social Security is not going to go away. It's not going to look the same as it always has. The last time we faced this kind of deficiency in Social Security was 1983. And in 1983, they changed the full retirement age from 65 to 67. Congress is going to have to act in some way like that, right? And they also started taxing higher rates of Social Security income. So there's going to have to be an overhaul of the Social Security system. But if the trust fund dries up tomorrow, and I give people some peace about this, and goes away, there's about 77% right now coming in off of wage taxes to cover and fund what's going out of Social Security. So you've got about a 23% cut coming if they do nothing,
if nothing
right?
else occurs.
But I believe Congress will have to act, number one. But you have to at least be prepared for, hey, 2033, if nothing happens, there will be a 23% cut in my Social Security income. You have a 9-year window here. Let's plan other retirement avenues for income so that we understand how you're going to continue your lifestyle.
I'm not going to get into a generational discussion here, but I know younger folks are saying it's hard to find good paying jobs, at least the ones they want to. But here's the thing, with so many people turning 65, in the next 6 to 7 years. They're calling this peak 65. I think we've talked about it before, and that the most amount of Americans are turning 65. So yes, they're going to need Social Security. But guess what? Those 10 million Americans who turn 65 every year, who are probably close to that retirement, that means each one of them that are going into retirement are going to be giving up a job that needs to be replaced somewhere. So it is part of the working cycle that we will continue to pay into Social Security, but I like what you're saying. Let's maybe prepare for the worst. We can possibly see this coming, so let's do this now.
Well, this is we talk so much about proactive versus reactive approaches. And this is just another example of how we can be proactive in our approach instead of reactive and just responding to what's presented to us. No, we can do our due diligence and actually prepare and plan to ensure that we have what we need throughout that stage of life.
Yeah, and it's one of those main 5 components of our financial planning process, the income planning piece. Social Security does make up a large amount of income for most Americans today. That's just the truth. But how do we now start weaning ourselves a little bit from Social Security being the #1 income provider for my household? If you are still working, if you're in your 60s and you're still working, you should be putting more than as much as you can into retirement accounts, maxing out those 401ks, those IRAs, those Roth accounts, right? Because we will need to rely on those buckets later as we continue to see growth come with inflation as far as how things cost a lot more. And with Social Security possibly making some changes and being diminished, we want to have a strong, sturdy income plan. We help folks do that every day in our offices.
And I know that we can call the Social Security Administration, or you can go to ssa.gov, and maybe you heard me joke about this before. The hardest thing about figuring out what your Social Security is going to be is remembering your password, right? Going to ssa.gov, that's the hardest part. You can find out what the numbers are. That's not hard.
That's right.
Putting it into an income plan, like when is the best time to turn it on? And here's the thing, before we go out to break, one more thing. You're not just making a decision for yourself. Oftentimes the decision you're making affects your spouse as well, right? So if we're turning this on early, aren't we affecting, let's say me and you, Jay, if we turn it on early, aren't we affecting someone who might live longer?
Yeah, because Brittany is going to outlive me statistically, right? And so if that's the case...
I do eat a few less cheeseburgers.
She's outing me on my diet now, so that's cool. So that's absolutely true. But regardless, if I turn it on early and take the minimal amount, she's only going to get to keep the largest of the 2 Social Security amounts if I pass and predecease her. We need to make sure that those amounts are as large as possible so that she doesn't have to stress. If something happens to me, hopefully she's going to have enough stress in her life, and that she's not going to have to worry about the financial stress too. So make sure that you're optimizing your Social Security planning, not only thinking about your now, today, but thinking about 10, 15, 20 years from now, and if you were not here any longer, how that would affect your family.
We're going to continue to talk about retirement research. In fact, I want to ask about annuities. We've seen this bull run on annuities happening over the last 2 years, and I want to find out what's going on and will it continue. But more importantly, I want to let you know that you can sit down with Jay and Brittany yourselves and get started on your own Allon approach, your income retirement planning approach for your own golden years. How exactly do you do it? It's really simple. Call the phone number down on the bottom of the screen right there. We have people standing by right now who will schedule an appointment for you to come in to one of the offices. And when you come in, you will get a complimentary copy of their brand new book, The Allon Approach. Goes through some of the details of exactly what they do for folks, but you can walk away with that, or you can actually get started on the process together with Jay and Brittany. More of the Allon Exchange when we get back with Jay and Brittany right after this.
Do you know how taxes will impact your financial future? We meet with many families day after day who have saved years for retirement in a 401k, 403b, or an IRA. But they come to realize they don't truly have a financial plan. They have questions like, how do I turn my money into income streams to last me through retirement? How do I know if I'm best positioned for market volatility and inflation concerns? And how do I ensure I'm not overpaying in taxes? This is one of the greatest tax windows in history, and now is the time to take advantage of this discount while you can. The good news is we specialize in areas such as proper portfolio allocation, retirement income strategies, and tax planning. When you meet with us, you'll walk away with solutions, with answers to your questions. You'll walk away with a written, comprehensive financial plan. Reach out today for your complimentary portfolio review and tax analysis.
Welcome back to the Allon Exchange with Jay and Brittany Hagy, both financial advisors. Today we're discussing retirement research, the kinds of numbers that you might be seeing out there and wondering, are they still holding up? Are they going to work out for you in retirement? What I'm concerned about, I've seen this crazy bull run on annuities, as you both have as well, the last 2 years. $300+ billion a couple of years ago, over $385 billion this last year alone flowed into annuities. I know we've discussed it, but will this bull run continue on annuities? And are you talking to clients about them? Why are so many people still rushing to annuities today?
Yeah, I think there's many different reasons that folks would utilize annuities for their retirement accounts. First off, anytime we're utilizing an annuity product, or we would suggest that as a vehicle that someone would use, we usually get some answers like, wow, I heard you're not supposed to use annuities for this or that. There are many different types of annuities, right? The most common ones are immediate annuities, indexed annuities, fixed annuities, variable annuities, things like this. First, you want to know what type of vehicle that you're using. And I always tell people, any single investment by itself is not evil or good or great or bad. It's how they're utilized. If they're positioned correctly, that's what matters. And so we position most of these with income planning, and to make sure that you have a secure, steady stream of income through retirement, because most people don't have pensions anymore.
Right.
Unless you hit the lottery, you just don't have a large pension anymore. And so we can utilize annuities, and I think that's why a lot of people have bull rush to annuities. It takes away some of the volatility, and it allows for a steady stream of income throughout your life, so that way you don't have to stay up at night with heartburn wondering how I'm going to
We've
pay for my
discussed
lifestyle.
the emotions of different things, and I like what you're saying is let's keep the emotions out. It's just a tool. Have you ever used a power washer? Ever used a power
yes.
washer
Yes.
on the weekend? Right, it's a great tool. Would you ever use that to hang a shelf?
Yeah.
Oh no, it's not
Wrong
the right
tool, right?
Right.
But it's a great tool
Yeah.
at what it does. And that's the thing. An annuity, it might not be for everyone.
That's right.
Everyone doesn't necessarily need one. But I tell you what, millions and millions of Americans are pouring billions of
That's right.
dollars into them.
That's right.
Do you think this is also part of, as we've said before, peak 65, more people turning 65 in the next 5 to 6 years, and them realizing they don't have the pension plans that their parents did or their grandparents did, saying, hey, I want something that I know will pay me income for the rest of my life. I'm going to do that.
Yeah,
Exactly.
there's a valid place for those types of vehicles, and that's what I really want to hit home, is that it's just another vehicle. This is really two sides to this conversation: the investment strategy piece of the conversation, as well as the income piece of the conversation. We're talking about both here.
That's right.
Positioning matters, and how the investment's positioned and how it's allocated matters, but then also how you're using it and how it's creating income for you. And it's just a vehicle. So just like a market account may not be the best option for someone, or maybe how it's invested within the market is going to look very different from person to person. So are the vehicles for each individual. And here's something that's really important that I think most people we sit down with forget, is that any type of vehicle, any type of investment holds some type of risk.
That's right.
But you get to choose the type of risk, the amount of risk, how much risk you're willing to take, and when. So we talked recently on one of our shows about cash, and how people thought, man, cash is really a safe investment. I just want to, market's going to go up and down. I probably should just hold everything in
Right.
cash. They move everything to cash, and then in 2023, cash was the lowest performing asset class.
Right.
And so they kind of came
Went
up
backwards.
like, oh man, and inflation was up. So they actually lost purchasing power. So with cash, you have inflationary risk or purchasing power risk. With markets and market accounts, you have market risk, the volatility, and if it's going to change the value of your account. Well, with these types of vehicles, you have liquidity risk. You may not always be able to get all of your money at one time. You can certainly get to portions of
Absolutely.
it. And some vehicles, you can go take all of it
That's
out
right.
at one time. So it really does vary, but the beauty is you get to choose the amount of risk, the type of risk, and when to take that fits your plan.
And let's talk about that liquidity and those portions, because I want to go into some real numbers.
Yeah.
Let's say you have $250,000 in investments, right? You have a long-term look at what you're going to do with investment. You're not supposed to be changing your investment philosophy every 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, right? So if
Right.
you're investing long-term, you're looking at 10 or 15 years.
That's right.
What you were just saying was illiquidity over periods of time. Well, if you take that same $250,000, you put it in a plan that's going to make 5% or 6% or 7%, you can also take out 10%
That's correct.
a year without
That's
penalty,
correct.
right? So when was the last time either of you had a $250,000 emergency that you needed $250,000 like right away? You
Yeah,
wouldn't go
it's
take
very
that from
rare.
your investments. Or
Well, it's very
and
rare you would do it anyways because a lot of those are qualified dollars that are taxed.
Yeah,
So are you going to
taxable
pull out
buckets.
$250,000 of taxable income? No, because we're not going to give Uncle Sam 35% of it, right? And so you want to make sure, well, I guess let's say it this way. A lot of times we've seen this go up, this bull market of annuities, because of what Brittany said, market volatility and inflation risk.
Which is a fear
and
button.
things that are pushing fear buttons. But it absolutely holds a place of a position where it can keep some dollars safe and secure so you don't have to worry about riding the market volatility, and so that you have a steady stream of income that a pension, if you don't have a pension, will supply you. So we want to make sure that we're utilizing these correctly. But yes, it's not that all liquidity is gone. You have liquidity with these. You need to take a long-term approach with any investment vehicle that you utilize.
I want to say that right here in Tennessee, I was also listening to your radio show a couple of weeks ago, and you guys were talking about refinancing your retirement. You said something about the interest rates, because right now the Fed chair has once again said that interest rates were going to hold. Maybe by the time this airs, that maybe they've gone down by 1/4 percentage point, but they were supposed to go down several times this year, and they haven't.
Yeah.
So we were worried about this window of better opportunities and safer money annuities was going to go away. It's still here right now, but what exactly is the refinancing your retirement that you were talking about?
Well, just like when you refinance your home, when rates are low, you can get a better interest rate. You refinance your mortgage, your home. You can do the same when it comes to your retirement. When interest rates are as they are now, you can get a better return. And so you can kind of flip it on its edge, and this is where we talk about financial planning and how it needs to be flexible. You need to be flexible, make changes when needed, like moments like this, taking advantage of the economic conditions we find ourselves in and making the most out of our
Well,
situation.
yeah, and from
that way.
2019 to 2022, we were in some of the lowest interest-bearing years on history in records. So if some of these retirement accounts are still gaining you 1%, 1.5%, 2% a year, now's a great time to look at refinancing those, because now I want to say, hey, I may can get 5, 6, 7% returns on what I have in these accounts now. And we have the ability to take a look and see what's available to you and educate you on your options to, hey, we can move this bucket here that's getting 1% and get 5% without taking any more risk. And that's a huge deal.
And this is something that the organizations that put together the annuities are offering themselves. They realize it. Those insurance companies that offered the annuities, the interest rates weren't there. Now they are.
They are.
So they are offering things like possibilities of exchanges. Yes, we are very aware of things like surrender charges. So
Yeah.
you don't say go out and do this on
No.
your own, but
No.
speak with somebody who is, I want to say this, a fiduciary,
That's
right?
right.
Somebody's got your best
That's right.
interest.
We're independent fiduciaries on purpose, meaning that we take a look at your best interest before our own. We want to make sure that it is going to be beneficial for you to refinance your retirement. If it's not, we're going to tell you need to stay where you're at. If it is, we absolutely want to get you in a better position. So you need to work with an independent fiduciary if you have not taken a look, especially maybe you got an annuity in 2019, 2020, 2021, and you're saying, man, I've made 1% a year on some of these products. We want to help you refinance if you can to get you in a better position going forward.
And you can do that very simply by calling the phone number right now. It's called Refinancing Your Retirement. We just want to take a look. Are you using interest rates to help fund your retirement? If you haven't reviewed the tools or products that you're using, there have been better offerings because of the interest rates that have happened over the last 12 to 18 months. But these interest rates very likely will not last. So you literally have to take action right now. Let's find out if you should refinance your retirement. Call the phone number you see down here. Schedule your appointment with Jay and Brittany, fiduciary financial advisors, who will review your situation for you. More of the Allon Planning Partners and the Allon Exchange when we get back right after this.
Allon means oak tree, and when we began this firm 7, 8, 9 years ago, something like that, we were searching, trying to determine what do we really want to build this foundation on? How do we want to depict and share this mission that we have with the world? What does this look like?
And so as we were processing through what should be the grounding factor, the name of our company,
Allon really stood out. It's actually the Hebrew word for oak tree.
And we knew that the oak tree was going to be the symbol for what we are, how we operate, because those are the kinds of financial plans we want to create.
And so Allon comes from the Psalms, where it talks about the tree that is planted by the water that has deep roots, that even in times of drought, this tree can sustain life, and it bears fruit in every season.
That really became the foundation and the mantra of our firm, why we do what we do, who we are, how we operate.
We want to create plans for people with deep roots that even in times of turmoil it hits their life. Maybe it's a death in their family. Maybe it's another financial crisis. Maybe it's COVID, and something that we can't even see coming. But the roots are so deep that they bear fruit in all seasons because we have a plan for every season of life.
Welcome back to the Allon Exchange with Jay and Brittany Hagy, both financial advisors and the founders of Allon Planning Partners. I'm Spike Spangle. Today we're talking about retirement research, all different kinds of things that we look at. We get these books online. We either go through Kindle or Amazon. Bezos is going to be able to retire. We know he'll be able to retire someday.
Right.
But the rest of us, we always wonder, because I look at some of these things, I'm not sure if they're true or not. One of them that I read was, my home is the greatest investment that I ever made. So why should I take risk in the stock market?
Sure.
I really, really like real estate. Would you agree with that?
Well, I tell folks, bricks don't taste that good. And so the reason I say that is, your home has probably gone up in value and done well over the last few years. Real estate's doing awesome, but you have to eat as well. You have to take risk with other investments. You have to optimize your other investment choices. You can't just look at one single asset class and say, I'm sticking with that, I'm gunning for it. That's not true diversification. Number one, there again, you can't eat what you have right there. You have to make sure it works. But there's 5 asset classes you want to make sure you have, not just real estate, which is one of them. And I think you should be diversified.
Okay, I want to press you a little bit. When we say 5, so investments, we're talking like stocks, bonds. So ownership, cash, a little bit of safety,
commodities.
right? Commodities,
Commodities
and so then
and
the
real
real
estate.
estate also
Yeah,
counts
that's
in there.
right.
So we want a well-diversified portfolio.
right.
Well, because it's not just about net worth when you get to retirement. You remember that commercial that had that number over everybody's head, and
This is
they
what
were
your
walking
value
around.
had.
Yeah, this is what you have to have in retirement,
Yeah.
or this is what's going to make your retirement incredible. It's not just about that dollar amount. It's about income.
Income strategies.
How can you live off of what you've saved and accumulated, right? And that could be a number of ways that you actually take distributions from those accounts. But it's more than just having the asset itself.
And we've mentioned it before as well. Yeah, that home may have risen in price, but don't forget, that means eventually we're going to need things like roof repair, cement repair,
More
pipes,
maintenance.
carpet,
Property
everything that goes
taxes
in,
keep going
property
up.
taxes, everything
Right.
that goes into it. So there's a true cost to that kind of investment,
Right.
just like there are with other investments
Sure.
as well. There's another one that I wanted to ask you about, though, and I guess it comes to this because there's all these kinds of things and rumors that we think we understand, and one of them that I heard from someone recently was actually, I'm not kidding, was very near the water cooler. I was filling up my water bottle, and he said, look, I'm about to retire. I've done really, really well with my investments. Why do I keep seeing all of these commercials for having a financial advisor in retirement? It's like, I got here on my own. What do I need a financial advisor for in retirement?
Well, 2 things I want to say real quick. One, I'm smart enough to know that I don't know what I don't know. And that's why I need a professional to lean on when I get in certain situations. If I'm going to rewire my house or to replumb my house, I don't want it to flood, I don't want it to burn down. Please, somebody help me. I don't know what I don't know, even though I could probably figure it out if I wanted to. Secondly, a lot of times what got you to retirement will not get you through retirement. And that kind of goes hand in hand with you don't know what you don't know. So this accumulation mindset, you may have done great at growing money and earning money and growing money. It's different when you get to the distribution mindset, and now you have to get off this mountain. You really need to think about it differently, which could just be an emotional standpoint altogether, but you have to be guided and coached if you haven't done it, which you haven't. You spent 40 years, 30 years, whatever it's been, amassing the amounts of money that you have. That's why we step in and help coach people. Okay, now I've got to this point. How do I get off this mountain successfully?
Because there is an emotional component to investing, an emotional component to how you manage your money, and if you lose money, how that impacts you. If you grow your money, how that impacts you. How you spend, how you save, all the things. And so, if you lose money, you're going to feel that. You're
That's
going
right.
to it's going to hit you in a way that it's not going to hit someone else because it's yours. You're the one who feels
Especially once you've amassed a
that
bunch.
impact.
Yeah.
When you've grown it and then you see this big cut or whatever the percentage cut would be, you're going to feel that. And you're going to respond.
Right.
More than likely, you're not really going to respond. You're going to react. And usually reacting is when you find yourself in difficult situations because you're making emotional decisions instead of decisions that are really right for you in the moment. That's where we come in. To be able to offer that stability through the emotions that you're kind of wrestling with, we can help you through, hey, here's where you need to hold, or here's where you need to, it's time to make a shift here. We need to adjust, we need to pivot. That's what we bring to the table. We bring that value to the table so that you don't find yourself in a position making emotional decisions that actually put you in worse positions.
Yeah, and real quick, Vanguard just produced a study that showed a $500,000 account, whether it was self-managed and self-directed in retirement versus an advisor-managed account. And that account over a 25-year period, the self-directed grew to 1.6 million, the advisor-directed grew to 3.4 million. It doubled. Well, how is that possible? It's not just because we're all that great, right? Well, a lot of reasons. Over half of that growth came from what Brittany's talking about, behavioral coaching, because we get emotional with our money. We want to buy at the wrong time, sell at the wrong time because, oh my goodness, things are going crazy. You need a coach to help get you off the mountain that you built, and that's where we come in to help. And I think that's why Vanguard even says you need an advisor to help you with this time
And what's
in retirement.
interesting being from Vanguard is because they're known as do-it-yourselfers
That's
as
right.
well. So
That's
they
what's shocking.
commissioned the study. I think they wanted to show, like, look, you can
wanted to
make
show you
just
can
as
do it
much
without
money
it.
on your.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you make nearly double because it was something like an extra 3% a year, which
That's
that number
right.
3% doesn't sound like a lot, but growing, compounding
Over
over
time,
time
over
makes
time.
a huge
That's
difference.
right.
So it's
That's
really
right.
just seeing those. And the other thing about it, though, is using a financial advisor. Most people might think it's cost prohibitive. We don't have a lot of time.
Right.
Is there a cost to call the phone number and to come in and sit down with you guys?
There's actually no cost to sit down with us and to get a complimentary consultation. I would say that you would need to claim it today so that we could see where you're at on your financial journey to see if we can help you get to where you want to be.
All right, Jay and Brittany, thank you very much. And just as Jay was saying, please claim your spot today. Here's what you can do. Call the phone number down on the bottom of the screen and we will get you started on your own Allon approach, your investment approach, tax approach, and estate planning approach to your retirement. There is no cost for our television viewers, for their radio listeners, for those who come to the live events. Just schedule the appointment. Make a difference in your own retirement. Call the phone number. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back next week.